Greetings, everyone. Welcome to CRWS, decoding of episodes 1 through 5 of The Last of Us. Before we get started, I'm going to read the quote from Nyan Sasim. It is February 16th, 2023. So I'm going to read the quote from February 16th. It is natural when certain needs are not met to do whatever you have to do to meet those needs. It's a fool who constantly gets beat down and finds himself no matter it's a fool who constantly gets beat down and finds himself no manner of retaliation. Mawakebu Ayan Akili. We must not ignorantly allow others to misinterpret our tradition. For example, we contest the assertion that our ancestors blindly showed hospitality to strangers. Instead, they were generous to a fault. However, we always acted within our ancestral wisdom. It is this experience, intelligence, which led the Akan to maintain that we admit a sojourner but not a suppressor. It is only when we become so determined to embrace a safe, pretentious Africanity and fight to bring enemies into our communities and homes as our dearest and closest friends that we confuse ourselves into foolishly believing that our ancestors welcomed anyone who happened to stumble into our space with childish open arms. The African proverb, an ignorant man is a slave, says it all. Affirm, I admit no suppressors. That's from Nyan Say Some, a calendar of revolutionary daily thoughts by Mwalimu K. Barudi. So, I don't want this broadcast to be too long. If you find this information constructive, interesting, please consider throwing me some nickels. But the first episode of Last of Us, really interesting. Being a victim of racism who has also played the video games, I think is very telling. It makes um, the racism in the show just more apparent. But before I talk about that aspect of the show, the beginning of the show, we see the usual suspects, people who may be racist white supremacists. They're talking about a potential disease, a potential fungal infection. They're talking about how deadly this, no, how detrimental this infection would be to the system of white supremacy, and how the system would not be able to defeat such a infection. And this is sort of um, predictive programming, and I guess you could say in the show, because eventually this does happen in the show. It reminds me in real life of how the usual suspects have a long tradition of using germs, chemicals, and diseases to wage war against non-white people, to mistreat non-white people by, using poison against them, using chemical warfare. This still happens 2023. I, I believe, I suspect. Um, so that is still the intro. And then we meet, I don't know who we meet first, Joel, the, sus- well, I guess he would be a white supremacist because he has a non-white offspring, which means that he um sexually aggressed on a victim of racism, and that's a huge no-no under the system of white supremacy. A huge no-no. So let's actually talk about Sarah. Sarah in the video game, she's a white child. Um, I think she was made to be a black female because they wanted to show a supremacy. Hey, a black child being killed. They wanted to show. They wanted to see a black child get shot by a race soldier. Essentially, that's what happens in Sarah in this episode. She is killed at the end, and it's very emotional. You know, they make it very emotional, very traumatic. I think they should have left the child a white child like the video game, because making her black served it didn't add anything of constructive value to the show. We just watched a black child get killed, and we see enough of that in real life, but we have to watch it on TV too. This is why reading is way more important than watching television. And yeah, you're not gonna hear anyone discuss this show in this manner as well, because I am unfortunately a person who does a bit of reading. But I think Sarah being made a black female just it just racism, white supremacy, and Joel is definitely a white supremacist because it means he has um, sexually aggressed on a black female and produced this victim of racism who he was not able to protect. She perishes. So the show also added something very interesting that I think shows a really interesting just shows the hierarchy of the system of white supremacy. In this system, you know, all white lives matter, but there is certainly like a hierarchy. There's certainly like in order for the system to function, the people who are most important is the white female, the white woman, because they are who bring white people to this planet, and white people are needed to produce racist men and racist women, and these are the people who maintain the system. So there's a white child. I'm probably not gonna be able to find him on the screen, but we meet this white child, white boy, and like he's talking to I believe a black female security officer, and she's like, "We're gonna like take care of you. Do you want to play with some toys?" Long story short, the white boy child is killed, and then after that, we immediately meet. After that, after the white boy is killed, we meet Ellie. Ellie is super duper um important, significant to this world. Let me get it. Let me get it on the screen. Here we go. So right after the white boy is killed because he's infected, we meet Ellie. Now, of course, you know, as I just said, all white lives matter in the system of white supremacy, but the most valuable life I suspect from my observations is the white woman, the white child, the white female child, um, because these are the people who bring white people to this planet. Ellie is this show, The Last of Us. It's just there's nothing new happening here. It's the same white fantasy of the world has ended. Now we have to protect the white child or protect the white woman from the evil dark forces. Actually, the first episode. What's the name of the first episode? I forgot to mention the name of the episode. It's something involving darkness. When you're lost in the darkness, of course. You know. So this is what The Last of Us is about. It's nothing new. It's just a racist fantasy where the white man is protecting his white child or a woman, however you want to phrase it. But Ellie is so important in this show because she's immune. You know, I'm decoding her immunity as she's immune from being a person who is wanting to harm or destroy the system of white supremacy. She is the key to restoring the system of white supremacy. If they're able to use her to create some sort of cure, they'll be able to get rid of the infection and restore white power domination, essentially. Also, her being immune is showing her importance. She is a white woman. She has the ability to produce white children. So many coded messages, and well, not even coded. They're right in your face. You just have to know what you're looking at. From what I'm seeing. So, is there anything else from episode 1 that I want to discuss? No, because we I could talk about this stuff all day, but let's go on to episode 2. Let's talk about episode 2. So, episode 2, we're seeing that in this apocalypse we have. Actually, no, the beginning is really important actually, because this is our new to the Last of Us lore, or whatnot. We learn where the virus infection started. The infection started, of course, if there's going to be a world-ending scenario. The people who are going to be blamed for that, the people who's going to be responsible for that, are definitely going to be non-white people. So we see the virus taking place, well, starting at least in Jakarta, I believe, and the non-white female here, when she discovers that, hey, this is a really serious virus, and she immediately has a solution to how can we solve this problem. She says bomb, and I'm like, So the virus starts in a non-white so-called country, non-white area, and one of the only solutions is to bomb them, just start dropping bombs on non-white people. I'm like, that's nothing new. 2023, lots of bombs are still being dropped on non-white people. So very interesting. They could have had this virus start anywhere. It could have started in the States, but they chose an area full of non-white people. And I have seen people say that's because of how they made the virus. I'm not even gonna go into it. I don't just we're looking at the white supremacy. We don't care about all. We don't have to get into too much of the lore because we're not video game nerds. Our comic book nerds. We're just attempting to be counter-racist scientists, and this information is intended to help us to become less confused about Area 3 entertainment, and especially the system of white supremacy. This show, again, doing nothing new. It's not teaching us how to be universal man or universal woman. So, yeah, the non-white female suggests bomb. That's how we're gonna solve the problem. And then we get to hang out with another powerful person in the show, simply because she's a white woman. White women are powerful by default. White men are powerful by default. Non-white people are powerless by default. That is how this system is set up. That's how it operates. So Tess is seen as she's presented to be very capable. She's like basically the girl version, the woman version of Joel. And they talk about just how they maintain themselves and this post-apocalyptic scenario. And it's kind of similar how suspected racists were maintaining themselves before the world ended. They were using a lot of deception and violence, and this show, in this series, there's a ton of deception and violence that takes place. But that's nothing new. That is how the system functions. Let me see. Tess is Tess also is sacrificed. Well, I should say Tess becomes a white sacrifice here because Tess. Maybe this is important. Actually, this is important. Tess, she's a white woman. White women do it best, and Tess has a greater interest in wanting to, restore the system of white supremacy. She wants to get Ellie to the Fireflies, and the Fireflies are supposed to help them to make some sort of cure. Tess wants Joel to do that. So Tess literally she becomes a white sacrifice. A white sacrifice is a white person who's allowed to be killed or maimed for the continuation, the maintenance of the system of white supremacy. They are considered necessary losses. And Tess becomes a necessary loss in a really horrific and grisly way. This does not happen in the video game. The monster, this does not happen in the video game. But yeah, this is how Tessa goes out. This is how she becomes a white sacrifice. I'm sure there's more to unpack here, but I can't put my finger on it. So let's see. Greetings to Sour Kiss and Mr. Brandon Williams in the chat. All right, so we are going on to. All right, I think we're going to episode 3, which is about Area 8 sex. Area 8 sex. A long, long time. So, yeah, let's get into episode 3. How does this one? Let me see if there's anything. Okay, so this episode we're introduced to Bill, and I think the montage with Bill is there's a great constructive value if a victim racism is were to just study the montage and really acquire some survivor books, some prepping books. I think that montage, because I think non-white people should be stocked up on supplies, all sorts of supplies that will aid in our survival in case of anything. I thought I think that was the only constructive thing about this episode. Other than that, this episode is just displaying white culture, and there's nothing wrong with white culture if no one is being harmed. And the aspect of white culture that is in this episode is what in our business is known as counter sexual activities, which is male to male, female to female sexual interactions. And if this is a part of white culture, then hey, that if that is something that needs to be done in white culture, by all means. But I personally don't see the constructive results from this sort of from these sorts of interactions, especially when um, male to female interactions aren't even where they should be. But anywho, this episode had a lot of that anti-sexual, counter-sexual imagery. Some would say propaganda, but Bill's montage of him like just being super serious about his survival, that was of high constructive value. So if there's anything to take away from episode 3, non-white people, we should become super serious about our survival. Invest in our survival. Invest in a generator. Invest in some MREs and invest in firearms, invest in, learning how to use firearms, invest in things that are serious that can aid in our survival. What else from this episode? Oh yeah, and it just shows me that hey, the average usual suspect, the average suspected racist, the average white person, hey, it's probably a bill. It's probably very, prepared, very they probably have firearms, they probably have, you know, a plan when things get really serious and hectic. So, we should want to emulate that behavior if we're gonna copy any behavior from white people. Let's copy how serious they are about being prepared about stuff. Um, Anything else from episode 3? Um, White people are prepared. Non-white people should want to be prepared and serious. And yeah, and everyone, please go to PurdueJustice.com. I'm not talking about this show because I'm enjoying this. I'm doing this as a meager attempt to produce justice, to guarantee that no one is allowed to be mistreated, and then people who need help the most receive constructive help. So I'm just trying. That's what I'm begging. Every day I beg for this to come to planet Earth. I beg white people and non-white people to help me bring this to planet Earth. So please go to PurdueJustice.com so you can assist in that much needed thing to do, which is to bring justice to this planet. All right, where are we going now? Episode 4. All right. Episode 4 just shows us how people are behaving in this post-apocalyptic world. It's you know there's a whole bunch of zombies and monsters about, but there's still conflict. There's still so much deception and people killing people, and that's because, hey, maybe racism is not even over with in this in The Last of Us. I don't think it is actually. I just think it's gotten to a it's gotten refined, or um it's changed in a manner that there's now zombies, I guess. But there's still a lot of deception and violence and chaos and confusion occurring. You would think that a lot more people will be working together to like not have to deal with the zombies, but nope. You have people ambushing each other. You know, when people have so Joe and Ellie, they get ambushed, and the person that ambushed them, he's like begging for their life. He's disarmed. He's like, hey, don't kill me, please don't kill me, blah blah blah. But you know, I guess Joe the white supremacist or something, but he kills him anyway. Oh, here it is, right here. He kills him anyway. Begs for her life, kills him. I think we meet Kathleen. I think that her name is Kathleen. If it's not, usual suspect. But she's very um she's looking for two victims of racism, Sam and Henry, and we're gonna talk about them when we talk about the next episode. But yeah, it's apocalypse, and there's still just, yeah, conflict. You would think you would think nothing has changed. You would think nothing has changed by it still being a planet full of deception and violence. Still, um, what else happened in this episode? Um, I guess um Joel and Ellie are bonding. He is becoming she's becoming more of his surrogate daughter, and she also shows her white power because she saves Joel um during the fight. But we should already know these are white people. They're very capable. They're very powerful. So that's nothing new. And in the end, we meet Sam and Henry. Okay, for some reason, they decided in the show Sam. I think yeah, I believe Sam is the child and Henry is the older child. But I think Sam, he's definitely not mute. He's definitely not deaf. I mean, yeah, he's not deaf. Why did they decide to make him deaf? It could have been to make him look more pitiful. It could have been, and I'm not saying deaf people are pitiful, but um, I think that's why they made him deaf. I Yeah, it could have been to make him seem just more helpless because you can't, if you're deaf, it's way harder to survive. You can't hear zombies running up on you. It just, you're more helpless in a zombie apocalypse if you're deaf. He was not deaf in the video game. Making him deaf in the show, like, could be more just tacky, trashy, terroristic, racist entertainment. My observations. So let's go on to episode 5, the final one we will be covering. I will be covering. Let me check out the chat because I've been just sorry kids using logic and code. Yep. Can we have a story? That's an excellent question, sorry kids. Can we have stories about a world without racism? I would appreciate that. I'm Brad working on myself, so here we see um and it's a post-apocalyptic. We still have racism and racism, and still like just it appears they're still dominating. It appears to me that even though there's zombies everywhere, racist men and racist women are still in control. So I must have been I'm in the beginning of the broadcast. I was in error. Racism white supremacy is not over with in this show. It just has gotten refined. So yeah. So here we see Fedra, which is the usual. No, actually, it's not Fedra. It's they're being hunted by the hunters. That's the name of the race soldiers who are hunting Sam, Henry, Ellie, and Joel. So we see we actually see Henry. Henry admits that, hey, I'm not capable. I can't survive. I need your help. You're a white man. I need your help. Can you help us? Can you help me and my brother? Joe's reluctant, but they eventually team up. They eventually team up. Um, Henry is doing his best to protect his younger brother. And okay. Oh yeah, in a number of occasions, we see Ellie. We see Joel or Ellie save Henry or Sam. Because we're watching racist fantasy. That's what happens in racist fantasy and racist fantasies. So again, you have all this. You have zombies everywhere. You literally have zombies everywhere, but just the focus for some reason is still on a black male. So I was highly wrong about racism being over in this show. Um, but eventually, we are led to believe that everyone survives. Um, there's a part where Ellie saves Sam and Henry from being under the car, and I believe this is where my Sam was bit. So the show has changed a number of things, and it could have changed a number of things if it decided to. But we saw episode one. We saw a black child die. We saw that. Remember that episode one? The black child. Remember she died. She got killed by the race soldiers. That happened to episode one. We're episode five now. We're gonna see another black child die. We're gonna see. No, wait. Actually, we're not gonna just see that. We're gonna see a black brother shoot his younger brother, then kill himself. That's what we're gonna see. So that happened in a video game, and when I was playing this video game, I was way more confused about racism and white supremacy. But now that I'm less confused, of course that's what we're gonna have in this video game because that's what the system of white supremacy is all about. It has programmed black people in particular, not white people in particular, to harm each other. And we have in 2023 black people killing black brothers, so-called black brothers, killing each other, and they have snuck in that reality inside this TV show. They show us a black brother killing his brother, and they do it in a really in a really refined and coded way, and it's really terroristic. It's really sad and emotional because that's how they want you to feel. That's, I guess, I don't know, but it's really tacky. They could have easily changed it. Maybe Henry and Sam can survive on a TV show. Maybe it doesn't have to be the exact same thing. But no, the showrunners they enjoy imagery of black people dying. It seems, and black children dying because again, Sarah in the video game is a white girl. Um, they made her a black female just to see her get killed on the silver screen. So, Sam, yes, Sam and Henry had to rely on a 14-year-old girl, right, white girl, to protect them. Yes, that is correct. That just shows how that just shows the impotentness of them. And in the show, I mean the video game, Sam at least had a voice. He doesn't have he doesn't have a voice. He's just like Ellie's pet to me. He becomes like her pet or something, and then she gives him this disgusting, like tacky blood transfusion in an effort to save him. Um, she practices racism, white supremacy because she withholds important information that, hey guys, um, Sam got bit. I gave him a blood transfusion, but she practices deception, and because of that, Henry dies and Sam dies. Well, Henry has to kill Sam, then he kills himself. Super tacky, and this video game is lauded. It has it's acclaimed for producing these images. Sam and Henry, they're beloved characters. Maybe beloved because they die. Because they die. So, is there anything else I want to say? Let me think. It gets even more tackier. It gets even more tackier because they bury Henry and Sam, and then Ellie, she like leaves a note on their grave that says "I'm sorry." I'm like, that is what a lame, tried and true racist tradition. Harming non-white people or doing things that lead to the harm of non-white people, and then the only thing we get is a sorry. Yeah, that's not compensation for any harm. Sorries are very apologies, and sorries are very worthless while subject to the system of white supremacy. So yeah, this show is absolutely disgusting, especially episode five. The whole Last of Us. Yeah, because of the the Sam and Henry characters, the show is deplorable, despicable. Um, yeah, these characters were totally pitiful. Henry could not protect his younger brother without the help of a white man and a white girl. Even with their help, he's so impotent and a pitiful black male that he still was not able to protect his younger brother. Um, yeah, and this is the kind of imagery that racist men and racist women want to continuously put out there because this is the mentality and that they want non-white people to operate on to function as. If we are not able to challenge the system by simply being aware and telling the truth that hey, I'm actually I am in a system of white supremacy. I have been classified as black. I am not a black person, but I have been classified as black, and that means my life, my existence sucks. I'm just like Harry and Sam. I'm just totally pathetic. 0526. Doing my best not to be so. Doing my best um to be grand, but it's really um a challenge when you are in a system of white supremacy and you have economics, you have education, you have entertainment, you have labor, law, politics, religion, sex, and war, and all of these areas of people activities has been set up in a manner to either sabotage you, mistreat you, or have it so that the things you're trying to do in those areas are super difficult and super taxing on your time and energy. So it's just if we can't challenge the system, we are going to continue being the Sams and Henrys of planet Earth. Unfortunately, um, before we let me catch up on the chat. Yeah. Yeah, sorry kids. Yeah, I don't like to get sorry for anything. I always ask, how can we improve a situation so you don't have to be sorry? Exactly. Um, Brandon Williams says it seems Tommy's wife is gonna be a black female. In the game, she was a white blonde woman. See, exactly. I don't know. I hate when I say hate. I mean I reject that they are promoting these incorrect arrangements under the system of white supremacy. Whenever a white person is so called with a non-white person, that is rape according to logic and according to how the racist men and racist women even define rape. Non-white people are children in this system. White people are the only adults. And the white supremacists, if they're being honest, they will admit to this. So they're promoting a lot of like rape. That's happening in all these shows, and it's HBO Max. So that I'm sure I think they're the people behind Euphoria, another despicable, disgusting, racist show that promotes nothing but filth and confusion. Um, yeah, that's yeah. At least the video game, did not. Yeah, we didn't have to see unless actually there's tons of black people you kill in that video game actually, but um yeah, and the showrunners, um Neil Druckmann. I used to think that this person was a non-white person, but as I've gotten less confused, he may be a white person. He may be a suspected racist. How long have we been on? Okay, so yeah, that was episodes 1 through 5. Episode 6. If we focus on that one in particular, it will be more thorough, akin to our usual decodings that we when we focus on one item. But I did not want to spend 6 hours discussing this nonsense. This is just to Yeah. So, yep. Neil is a white person. All right, thank you, Mr. Brandon Williams. All right, making sure I'm not forgetting anything. Please, if this was of constructive value, they're on the screen. That's how you can throw me some nickels, support the Patreon. Yeah, we should all want to no longer be presented to be the Sams and Henrys of planet Earth. The only way that's gonna happen if we counter and challenge the system of white supremacy. Reading is way more important than playing video games. Watching television. Please go to producejustice.com to help to solve this despicable problem. Thanks for tuning in to CRWS. We'll certainly be back. Oh, and of course, thank you, Mr. Brandon Williams and Sarah Kiss, for your contributions and the people who tuned in to the chat as well. Thank you for your audience. CRWS signing out.